In the Western world, cryptocurrencies are often just seen as highly speculative investments and get-rich-quick schemes. And yes, that is true to some degree. Cryptocurrencies are the fastest moving innovation and industry under the sun, where obviously a lot of people also get rich very, very quick. But it is really important to fundamentally understand that the real shitcoins out there are not meme coins, are not DeFi coins or GameFi coins. The real shitcoins in our modern financial system are actually fiat currencies. Now, if you're watching this from the United States or from Europe and you have a normal day job, you're probably just investing into cryptocurrencies with a small percentage of your income or of your savings with the hopes to one day catch a 10, 20, 30, maybe even 100x, which could be life-changing money and could be your retirement ticket. And especially in times like these, with macroeconomic uncertainties, political instabilities, it's more important than ever to understand that Bitcoin as an inflation hedge is not just a meme. In many countries, this is actually a harsh reality. And my personal thesis on why crypto will succeed and how crypto will achieve mass adoption is not actually through gamified user incentive programs, but in fact because national currencies are collapsing and forcing people into cryptocurrencies. So in fact, there is a tight correlation between hyperinflation and purchasing power of the national currencies of where people live and the adoption rate of cryptocurrencies. But let's dissect this one by one and start with chapter number 1, hyperinflation and consequences. There are currently, according to Ernst & Young and PwC, in a report that we found from April of 2023, currently over 12 countries that have hyperinflation right now. And these countries are Argentina, Ethiopia, Haiti, which is just new in 2023, Iran, Lebanon, and we've seen a lot of crazy scenes from people in Lebanon that are really literally going to banks and begging to get their money. In 2023, there are 3 countries that have over 100% inflation rate, which includes Zimbabwe, Venezuela, and Sudan. The inflation rate of Turkey and Argentina, which are probably some of the more well-known international economies, is above 70%, which means that in a year, you lose 70% of the purchasing power of your income and of your life savings, which means you can buy 70% less stuff. And keep in mind that those are just the official numbers that we could find. The real numbers are probably much higher than that, but obviously governments and national banks, they're obviously also trying to mitigate the damage here and polish the numbers a little bit. In the meantime, the inflation rate in the United States hit a peak of 8.26% last year in 2022, and since then has been on a little trajectory to the downside and currently sits at 4.05%. However, it is important to note that they have also adjusted the formula to calculate that, so we don't actually know what the real inflation rate is, and it might be much higher than the 4% as of right now. Now, it's also important to mention here that inflation itself is not evil. Inflation is just a tool to incentivize and stimulate economic growth. And the overall target inflation rate is supposed to be somewhere around 2 and 3%, which obviously varies on the economic environment that you're looking into. But what is really bad is when inflation gets out of control and then leads into hyperinflation. Hyperinflation basically means the rapid devaluation of a national currency, which makes it unusable in trade and especially unusable as a saving or store of wealth. And this is also one of the biggest criticisms of the fiat system. Number one, because it's not backed by anything, it's not backed by gold as it used to be, but also number two, because there is somebody sitting in the control center who can decide whether to print or stop printing new currency, and that is the central bank. And just to give you an example of how things can escalate, let's look into the Zimbabwean dollar in 2008. In 2008, the Zimbabwean dollar had a daily inflation rate of 98%, which means that you basically lose all your purchasing power within one day. So that is how inflation gets out of control, and this will obviously affect society and obviously the economy, right? And oftentimes also leads into riots. So with all that said, what could be the answer to that? How can we fix that? And the answer to that is chapter number 2, Bitcoin. Bitcoin was introduced in 2009 and has been viewed as a store of value and a hedge against inflation. And obviously, since Bitcoin is relatively new and just a bit over a decade old, this new form of money, which is native to the internet, obviously grows in extremely volatile cycles, right? So we've seen the same thing with the creation of the internet, but the real game changer for Bitcoin is, first of all, that it is decentralized. So there's no one single entity that controls the printing of new Bitcoins. It's programmable money, literally. You cannot change or adjust the monetary policies that is baked into the Bitcoin code base, which is publicly verifiable for everybody to see, and it is immutable, right? And in our current traditional financial system, nothing is immutable, nothing is decentralized. It all depends on a few people that do things behind closed doors that we have no control over. There's no governance system, there's nothing like that, right? So Bitcoin introduced a new paradigm for money, and the fact that it has a capped supply of 21 million and a rollout over 100 years, we're currently at around 18 point something million Bitcoins, so there's not too many left to be mined, means that the inflation rate of Bitcoin is trending towards zero, and that is programmable, right? This is really the beauty of Bitcoin. It's basically digital gold, and if we consider gold as real money, Bitcoin is also real digital money. Now, what have we seen over the past years? We've seen that governments and companies around the world adopted Bitcoin. They embraced it. They put BTC into their portfolio. Take El Salvador, for example. Take the Central African Republic. They also have adopted Bitcoin as legal tender. And the overall trend for Bitcoin is up only. Obviously, in the short term, things get extremely shaky. There's also a lot of discussions around it, a lot of back and forth, people buying, people selling, the SEC doing this or that. But on the big picture, it goes up only. Here's also a list of public companies that own Bitcoin. We can obviously see MicroStrategy is by far number one, but we also have Tesla in there, right? And I think we will see probably in the next 1 or 2 cycles more and more adoption as also regulation gets more clearer. I also have a crazy prediction, which is that we will see in the next 5 years one government that will actually print money, their local national currencies, to buy Bitcoin. And obviously, if one nation would start doing that, other nations would follow up and we would see a Bitcoin rush. So that is really my thesis here. That's why I believe that cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, have achieved escape velocity and are big enough to stand on their own feet to really become a new global monetary system and set a new standard. And again, that is native to the internet, because none of the other currencies are native to the internet. That brings me to chapter number 3,